Jesus said, "You will be my martus," or martyrs, which means witnesses. We can only testify to what we've witnessed. We can't witness anything until we get up and go. So join me as we explore deeper into the heart of God. I'm Jared, and thank you so much for joining me today. I want to talk about this story that we have, that we share with God, with love itself. See, God is love, and then he revealed to us his name of I Am, which, just to briefly recap, means that he is a present God, that he is always with us, that he wants to be involved. See, that's the foundation of who he is that love and that presence and that involvement. And it's clear from the whole story that we see, the thread that we see through the entire Bible is I Am simply trying to share his love with us. And yet humans, being so complicated and difficult, we keep screwing that up. So let's look at how God creates the Garden of Eden. There is no death. There is no work. There is purpose. God gave Adam the job of naming the animals and going out into the garden and even eating the fruit. Like, this was a purpose that he had, and he got to walk with I Am in the garden. So let's make sure that this point is clear. God created the perfect world with no death and no working, and he had relationship with us where he would literally come down and walk with humanity on the earth. He visited, he was there, he was I Am, he was present with Adam and Eve. They had one rule. Don't eat from this one specific tree. How crazy is it that humanity fell with one rule? One rule. It's crazy. With that, breaking that one rule, we gained the knowledge of good and evil. We understood how those things worked, and it severed our relationship with God. It broke that joint closeness with God, and it brought death into the world. There was no death prior to that decision, but the fall of mankind, the fall of humanity, ruined that, and it brought death into this world. So I Am understands that the relationship has been broken, and he immediately sets into place to start trying to work that relationship back again. So let's jump way forward in the story as God intervenes and rescues and saves the children of Israel from being slaves in Egypt. He's parted the Red Sea. He's walked before them as a pillar of fire, leading them on. And he says, I am coming down onto this mountain. And so God physically comes down and he stands on the mountain, and there's lightning and thunders, and the smoke surrounds the top of the mountain. It's a scary sight. And God gives directions on how to consecrate themselves. And then when the time has come, he says, okay, now come up on the mountain. I want to have relationship with you again. He's inviting all of the children of Israel up to come up onto the mountain to meet with God himself. And everybody was too afraid. So they stiff-armed God and said, how about you tell Moses what we should do? You speak to him, and then he can tell us what you said. We don't want a relationship with you. So God gave him the law. He showed him, if you want to do this on your own, if you don't want to have a relationship with me, let me show you what all things that you would have to do to stay completely righteous and to walk with no evil in your life. And honestly, I think that he kind of gave us the law as almost sort of a tongue-in-cheek kind of like, well, if you want to do this, let me show you how to do this. And then he lays out everything, and everybody's like, yes, I think I can do this. We can handle this. This will be great. And it's mind-boggling that anyone ever thought that the law was ever going to work, because it's so vast and it's so complicated. It is not manageable and is not meant to be manageable. It's meant to show our vast need for God in our lives and his intervention. So once again, we've rejected God. He gives us the law to show us just how far we have to go, how completely not able we are to attain that relationship on our terms. It's also this interesting birth of religion, in that we can now evaluate how you're following the law and how I'm following the law. And as long as it looks like I'm following the law really well, then I'm doing great. And you don't look like you're following the law very well, so I am clearly better than you. And now all of a sudden, there's this amount of control that I have. I can see how other people are walking with God, and everyone can see how I'm walking with God. And I can show off, and I can be big and proud, and all of that comes down to this sort of external view. And there's so much more control in a religion. Relationships are messy. I don't have as much control in a relationship. But when it comes to a religion, I have a lot more control. I can manipulate the system. I can make sure that you are seeing what I want you to see. And that is really the crux of what religion is. It's me trying to retain control of my relationship with God and have it be on my terms, not his terms. So we can see this once again when Israel is finally in the promised land. God is the king. They have a theocracy. He sends prophets and judges to be able to be the voice of God to the people that keep stiff-arming him. And through all of this, finally the children of Israel are like, we want our own king, a man, to be king. And God's like, you know this is going to go bad, right? And they're like, oh, we know. And he's like, you know that they're gonna steal your daughters and enslave your sons and take all your money, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we know that. And we just want to be able to have a king we can see. So again, they stiff-arm God and push him even further out, which God gives them. He's like, fine, if that's what you want, then here you go. And he gives them their kings. And the kings did. There was a couple of great highlights, but even those guys had some real terrible decisions and some really awful things that they did. And they damaged people's lives, and they were terrible people, and they hurt people, and they stole money, and they enslaved their sons, and they married their daughters, and like, it wasn't good. And that's exactly what God said, but that's what everyone wanted, and so God gave them that. So we finally have this plan that God enacted. Jesus shows up and he walks perfectly as a man, and he walks perfectly as a God. He is both fully God and fully man, and he walks as a man. He then dies on the cross as sin itself, and he dies. And what's really interesting is right then, and this is why I think it's so important for us to understand this relationship versus a religion. We are not in a religion. We have a relationship with God. We have a relationship with I Am. His name is I Am, to be present with us, to have that relationship. In Matthew 27:50-51, it says, and Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. He just died. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook and the rocks were split. That curtain was between the holy place and the Holy of Holies, which is where God dwelled in the temple. Inside of the temple, it was a place that no man could go except for the high priest once a year. And even then, they tied a rope around his ankle, because if he had any sin in him when he went in there, it was such a holy place that it would kill him. And they would fish him out with the rope tied around his ankle. Like, it's this crazy dense, God dwells in the temple place. And when Jesus died, in that very moment, the curtain was torn. It was split in half. And I just see God saying, this is it. No more. Let's be together. Like, I'm not going to be hidden behind a curtain anymore. I'm not going to be hidden away. I want a relationship with my people. I created you to love you, and I have gone every distance possible to just be with you and to have that relationship. Jesus died to pay that price, to fill in that gap so that God can have that full relationship with us. Because after Jesus left, he says, I have a helper to send to you. And there, once we have that relationship with Jesus and we say, yes, Jesus, I want your life. You've taken my death and I want your life and I want to live for you. In that moment, we get the Holy Spirit that bonds with our spirit. And now we are unified with God, and we have the fullness of God to interact with us, to dwell with us. The entirety of the Dark Ages was because some man got between everyone else's relationship with God. They said, no, we are the gatekeepers. We are the ones who are in between you and God. We'll do the talking to God for you. And that isn't right. That is not what God wanted ever, 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 ever. This is not the system that I Am would set in place. He wants a relationship with every single person. All of this, the entire Bible, all of this relationship with God is for everyone. Everyone and anyone can have this relationship with God. He sees you and he knows that you are where you are in what you've done and how you've done everything and the things that have been done to you. He knows all of it. And yet he sees you in this moment and he counts you as so valuable. He counts you as invaluable. You could not contain more value to him. You are the prize. You're all he cares about. And the entirety of God's relationship with humans has been to just share his love with us. We're the ones that keep screwing that up, and we're the ones that keep messing that up. So God basically was like, fine, I'll do it myself. And he walked so perfectly and he set up everything that all we have to do is just accept what he's done. And we have that relationship with God again. You can hear him. He's speaking to you. He wants to be with you. He doesn't see your past. He doesn't care about your future. Right here, right now, he looks at you and he says, you are valuable. I love you and I want a relationship with you. I want you to know me because I know you inside and out. I know you perfectly, and I want you to know me and know how much love I have for you and how much love I want to pour into your life. I want you to know that I Am is with you, that I Am is here. This is everything that we were designed for. We were designed for that relationship. And we wonder why no one has hope and everyone feels lost and purposeless and aimless is because the whole of our design was to be known and loved and to be able to know and love. That's us. That's humans. So now our mission is to just simply make sure that everyone knows that God wants a relationship with them, that they are loved, that they are seen, that they're valuable. This is a message for you, and this is a message for everyone. And the whole mission that we have, live in the martyr life, is to just make sure that everyone knows that you are loved, that you are cared for, and that I Am has only ever wanted a relationship with every single person. He counts every one of us to be valuable, and he wants the best for us. He wants to see us succeed. He wants to see us loved and cared for. The God who is love, the God who is personal, has only ever wanted a deep relationship with people, to share his love with us. So that's the story of humanity. That's the whole of all of it, was that God, love itself, wants to share that love with us. And we just need to let him embrace it and accept it and cherish it forever and ever. And make sure that other people know about it too. That is what we're here for. Thank you so much for visiting with me today. I really appreciate you hanging out with me all the time. Never forget, you are never alone, and welcome to the Martyr Life. This podcast has been produced, written, edited, and hosted by me, Jared Eddy. Thank you so much for listening.